listening to the Nansanity Chronicles podcast. I'm your host, Nancy Andrade, aka Nansanity. I'm an online health, wellness, and business coach, social media strategist, group fitness instructor, and Beachbody Live master trainer. I created this podcast to help entrepreneurs like yourself learn the do's and don'ts of building a business online. On today's episode, we'll talk about overcoming the fear of failure. So get ready to take notes and let's get started. What would you attempt to do if you knew you could not fail? It's a simple question, but maybe not such an easy answer. Taking fear out of the equation, what are your biggest dreams? Everyone's got dreams, but most people never even make an attempt to make those dreams come true, all because they're afraid they're going to fail. But what we may not realize is that failure is necessary in order to have success. In fact, some of the most successful people were at one point considered failures. Consider the story of a 25-year-old British woman named Joanne. A few short years after she graduated from college, her worst nightmares were realized. Her exceptionally short-lived marriage had completely imploded. She was jobless, a single parent, and as poor as possible by British standards without being homeless. As she described it, she had failed on an epic scale. Well, this woman would later become known as J.K. Rowling and would go on to write a little something called Harry Potter. Or how about the college dropout who co-founded a small computer company in his father's garage, which he would later be unceremoniously fired from? That dismissal could have completely crumbled him, but instead it made him realize that his passion for his work far exceeded his fear of failure. He then became involved in a couple of other ventures which became successes, and as a result, he was invited to come back to his former company as the CEO of Apple. That's right, Steve Jobs. And then there's the woman who started her life in some of the poorest conditions possible in America. She was born in rural Mississippi to a teenage mother. She was abused from the age of 9, ran away from home at 13, became pregnant at 14, and lost her baby shortly after birth. She managed to turn things around by the end of high school and excelled in academics. While in high school, she took an interest in media and held down a part-time job at her local radio station reading the news. She went on to major in communications at Tennessee State, and shortly after college graduation, she landed her first on-air job for a small station in Nashville. This job quickly attracted the attention of an ABC affiliate in Baltimore, so she was hired as a co-anchor of the evening news, which was a huge primetime coup for her. You see, at the time, most news anchors were older, white men. But the station management saw adding a female African-American to the lineup as a way to appeal to a broader viewership, so they aggressively marketed her arrival for weeks before she started. The show wasn't an immediate success, and after only a few short months, she was dropped from the co-anchor position. Imagine getting fired from your first big break. That's gotta be defeating. But she didn't let it get to her. Instead, she took advantage of an opportunity to co-host a brand new show. Now, this was going to be a major departure from a news show. In fact, it was a talk show. At the time, this was considered to be an enormous step down from co-anchoring the news. But that talk show would continue for 5 years on local Baltimore TV until she was recruited to host another morning talk show in Chicago. Within 2 years, that talk show in Chicago would gain national syndication and end up reigning the airwaves for 25 years. We all know it as The Oprah Winfrey Show. These are only a few examples of some successful people that had failure after failure happen to them before they became successful. Now, I want to challenge you to ask yourself a few questions when you want to start working towards a goal, but you're hesitant to start because you're afraid of failing. The first question I want you to ask yourself is, what's the worst that could happen? So the customer says no. So you don't get that raise that you were asking for. So you failed. Now ask yourself this, why is that so bad? A failure doesn't have to define you. It doesn't mean that you suck. It doesn't mean that you're not good at what you're trying to do. It just means that you need to find a new way of doing it. Instead of thinking of yourself as a failure, think of failure as a way to learn what not to do next time. Look at your failures as opportunities. They really are opportunities to learn, because if you're not learning, you're not growing, and you definitely will not succeed. Try not to get all wrapped up in what if I fail. Instead, frame it a different way. Tell yourself, so what if I fail? Don't let your fear of what could happen make nothing happen. And the reality is, when it comes to working towards your goals, the only true failure is giving up. I hope you found this episode helpful, and I can't wait to hear your feedback. Feel free to leave a comment below and tell me what you thought, or you can let me know what kind of topics you'd like to hear on a future episode of the Nansanity Chronicles. If you haven't already, don't forget to subscribe to this podcast so you never miss an episode. If you're looking for more valuable info, visit my website, nansanity.com, and go behind the scenes with me every single day on Snapchat at NansanityFit. Thanks so much for listening. Now go out there and be awesome.